What's going on, Warhammer and D&D friends? This is your Dungeon Master Typhloren with a reaction video on new DLC for Total War Warhammer Shadows of Change. So what this Shadows of Change DLC brings to the Total War series is lots of brand new content for some of my favorite factions and characters to the game too. So the units and leaders that are being added will be for Cathay, Kislev, and also my favorite Demon Lord faction, Tzeentch. Without further ado, I'm going to play the trailer first with just a little bit of reactions and comments here and there, and then afterwards I'm going to rewind and break down parts that really stood out to me, and also give you a little bit of insight and lore to it as well. Let's take a look. Okay, right in the very first few seconds, the Changeling. Oh, this is so sick. This is right up to character too. Okay, this is screaming lots of Witcher vibes. I'm loving it. Baba Yaga is going to be a sick legendary lord right off the bat. She gets a werewolf sled. I never knew I needed a Wendigo in my army until now. Those crow messengers, there is a lot of lore I want to dump in on them right now. Okay, they added Aekwold Hellbrass. Okay, that Tzeentch flyer. Okay, that looks incredibly sick. They added the freaking blue scribes too. Oh, that looks overpowered as hell. The J-Dragon comes to the battlefield. Hell yeah. See, this battle is what I live for as a Warhammer fan. The laugh too, hell yes! There is a lot of lore and a lot of characters that really stood out, and honestly, both as legendary lords and heroes too, they're going to make great additions for all three factions, honestly. Factions that really need this kind of DLC to really flesh out their roster and also bring a lot of older and newer players to have incentive to like play through their campaigns, see their different outcomes and strategies, especially for the Changeling. I feel like with the Changeling, there is going to be a lot of replayability to their campaign. All right, everyone, we have a lot to break down from that trailer, so let's get back into it. All right, so first things first, we immediately see the Changeling's true form, but the thing with the Changeling is they don't even know themselves what their true form is, but they are able to shapeshift into any person, thing, even animal. So what this is, so what's happening right now is the Changeling is basically dressing up as not Zarina Katerin, but one of the czars or like leaders below Katerin, and essentially she's burning a sacred temple to Baba Yaga. That's gonna piss off her, and then she's going to send her Wendigo, werewolf, monster army to attack the main cities of Kislev. Alright, and if we rewind here, taking a look at all of the units and monsters that she's sending into the city of Kislev, we can already see that she's kind of going to be like Dryka, to Kislev as Dryka is to the Wood Elves. And the thing with Dryka for non-Warhammer fans is she is part of the Wood Elf faction, but she's not entirely friendly with the rest of the Wood Elves too. They're both in it to protect nature and also keep their lands sacred and away from outsiders, but they do so differently too. Dryka has kind of a nasty animosity relationship towards Wood Elves and solely only buffs really spirit and treekin units as well, malevolent treekin units I should say. And yes, as the other Wood Elves like the Sisters of Twilight, you can confederate her and have her join your faction, but she can't really do the same. And I feel like Baba Yaga is going to have a similar mechanic to Dryka, where other Kislev lords can confederate her, but she won't be able to confederate them. I think that's going to be a bit of a downside to her faction, but I know she's going to give a lot of huge buffs to monster units, and look at that. Her monster units are probably going to make siege battles, even the tedious minor siege battles, a breeze to go through. And we can see, like, also the Changeling here, their whole shtick is literally to troll other factions as much as possible, and one of the best ways is to literally disguise yourself as their leader or their leaders and start a war between factions that would normally leave each other alone or would actually even be friendly to each other too. Okay, now the Cathay part is going to be one of my favorite ones too, just because honestly, I do love where Cathay is at right now, but also I am aware that there are other celestial dragons out there. In fact, on a minor side note, I have been loving playing through the modded Steam faction, Yin Yin, the Sea Dragon, or the Eastern Provinces. So yes, there needs to be more celestial dragons included in Cathay's roster. Okay, so here's the thing with these crowmen. They are essentially messengers to Yuan Bo, the Jade Dragon and ruler of the central provinces of Cathay. Okay, his armor is looking really sick there. Regal, ornate, but also battlefield effective too. It also kind of reminds me of High Elf armor too, with how decorative it is. And this shot here, with all the crowmen there, although they are messengers, I have a feeling they're going to be kind of like a swarm unit. That Cathay doesn't have a lot of flying units. I'm not entirely sure if the crowmen will essentially be a pure swarm unit where you can send a whole flock of them to attack enemy backlines, disrupt missile fire and such, or assault vulnerable units and glass cannon units too. Or if they may have some magical abilities or bound spells to help them in battle. I'm really hoping, it's wishful thinking, but I'm really hoping for the latter part where they will have those bound spells and essentially they can use them to kind of trick the enemy or also stalk and hide themselves as well. Okay, wait, hang on. So we got a Jade General there. Okay, his sledgehammer looks incredibly, okay, overpowered, but also I have a feeling that his weapon strength is going to be up there, but also his melee attack probably not going to be too high up. Essentially, what I'm saying is dealing a whole dishload of damage, but also not attacking as often, and maybe missing some of his attacks too with how heavy and slow that weapon may be. Aekwold Hellbrass here. Let's take a pause there on that very epic shot. So the whole shtick with Aekwold Hellbrass is he has this kind of life-giving sword. I believe it's called the Sword of Life. But essentially what it does is it's able to mutate, but also grant life to things that were once dead. And honestly, I thought it was leaning towards like a Nurgle kind of feel, but the fact that it provides mutations, change, and then also is able to replenish life. No, the replenish life is where we need to have a focus on, because that's the elephant in the room with Tzeentch units, is that they have little to no replenishment, and for non-Warhammer fans, replenishment after battle is crucial for any faction. Essentially, replenishment allows you to heal your troops back up, get them back to somewhat full health, or trying to get there as soon as possible. Tzeentch units, while they do have barrier to help them in battle and essentially tank a bit of damage and then pull in and out, they don't really have that much base health as units or a faction to recover from in battle. And I think that's the thing too, is with Aekwold Hellbrass, not only will his sword essentially have spells, or also maybe even a passive ability with units close by him to actually gain back their base health, but also this could translate to not just battlefield buffs, but actual campaign buffs when you're moving your army on the map to essentially re-heal yourself. Okay, that new monster unit, okay, that, I think it's like a winged griffin or something. It looks like I have a feeling they might use the phoenix animations or the griffin animations from the high elves with this one here. That's going to be a frontline destroyer, I know it for sure. But also, everyone, let's take a look here at this jade tiger dragon for Cathay too. That honestly looks like it's going to be Cathay's answer to Tzeentch's frontline units. Although Tzeentch doesn't, I guess, necessarily have a frontline. Like I said, they do have barrier, but I know for sure that these Jade Dragons, Jade Tiger Dragons, whatever that unit may be called, is going to be able to crush through the front line, and then also make it easier for, well, Cathay's decent front lines to make short work of them, and thus get to their more vulnerable missile units too. That's the thing too with Tzeentch, is they are glass cannons, so they can dish out a crap ton of magic damage, but not really take too much hits too, even with the barrier replenishment. There's also off to the left a Cathay war drum of some kind. I do remember in one of the patch notes saying that war drums or would essentially be given to Cathay. So I'm hoping that maybe it could like buff, maybe not all of the units, but particularly Cathay's front line. Okay, now this, the blue scribes here, Zaratam and Patarex, they're going to be really fun heroes to use. I feel like they're going to essentially be like another, not a magic missile unit, but potentially like a passive unit, almost like how Festus is, like essentially providing buffs, maybe even providing more barriers or faster barrier recovery time. But essentially what these two are their blue horrors of Tzeentch that are essentially trying to find the shards of Tzeentch, which Tzeentch was shattered by their other chaos god brethren, and in like a massive civil war. And after the civil war, these shards of Tzeentch, Tzeentch is still a very powerful chaos god, but these shards of Tzeentch were shattered everywhere, and essentially Tzeentch's agents are trying to piece them back together. These two blue scribes, I forgot which one could do which, but one of them can essentially read these shards and these glyphs, but can't understand them. And the other one is able to understand the meaning of these glyphs, but can't read them. So essentially they need each other to fulfill the parts that the other cannot understand. And Tzeentch was pretty much able to do this to them because he didn't want one or the other to become too powerful if they were to find the majority, or let alone even all of these shards. Alright, but they're flying on a Screamer of Tzeentch. Those things, they're a little annoying, but also not too much of a pain. Now this monstrosity here is what I'm really looking forward to when playing as the Changelings faction. Able to be an anti-monster. We saw how it took down that Terracotta Sentinel with one single blast. Granted, maybe that the Terracotta took on some damage from other Tzeentchian units too, but still one single blast from this monstrosity of Tzeentch. Oh, it looks so sick, but so gnarly at the same time. I can clearly tell it could be like the Charybdis where, like I said, anti-large, anti-monster, anti-construct. That's Tzeentch's answer to Cathay's Sentinel. J-Dragon swooping in, going in all Dynasty Warrior style, 1v-alling the front lines of Tzeentch. And this final shot here, the cherry on top. The Changeling, I gotta rewind that, I'm sorry. That is one of the sickest pan-out shots and ending scenes. The Changeling just overlooking the battlefield and what he has wrought upon Cathay. Disguising himself as one of the Crow Messengers too. Alright everyone, I got all of my reactions and excitement out. Let me know what your thoughts are for this new Shadows of Change DLC. Let me know in the comments if it's something that you're looking forward to. I know recently people are talking about the price point and if it's worth it. Do you think that this is worth $23, $25 of DLC money? But also, let me know what you would want to see for the legendary lords, heroes, what you would expect to see on the battlefield, campaign map, what kind of abilities, bound spells. Let me know all of the fine details, friends. We can get a discussion going on this. And as always, friends, if you love talking shop about Warhammer, D&D, Elder Scrolls, hit that like, subscribe, and bell button, and I'll save you a seat at the table.